Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah. Today is my first ever reading vlog, which I'm very excited about. My goal for this year is to try and read all of the books on my physical TBR that I had before the start of the year. So at the end of 2023, I did a huge, well, not a huge clear out. I went through all of my books and I was like, right, do I still want to read all of these? And I was like, right, yes, I do. I got rid of the ones I didn't want to read. And at that point I had 60 books, which is 5 books a month, which seemed very manageable. And so far I am actually on track, so I'm very proud of myself. It's the 22nd of May as I'm filming this, and I have read almost finished my 5 books for May. I have like 30 pages left in my last book, and I wanted to get a head start on June because the problem I'm having is a lot of the books on my physical TBR are very long, and so far the ones that I've picked have not all been very long. In fact, I've basically read most of the short books in my TBR, so I'm at the point where maybe like 50% of the ones left are over 500 pages, which is quite concerning. I do like big books, it's not that, it's just that I don't think I can read 5 books over 500 pages every month. I'm allowed to DNF books if I'm not enjoying them, and in fact I've DNF'd quite a lot of the books because, as you can imagine, if they've been sitting in my TBR for 3 years or more, potentially, some of them, there's a reason why I've not got to them. But I have had some nice surprises as well in there. I've had some that I was not sure I was going to love and then I ended up really loving, so swings and roundabouts. But yeah, I wanted to get a head start on my TBR for June. So I thought I would do a reading vlog, and I'm at the point where I'm just really struggling to pick any of the books because, as I say, I've read most of the short ones, I've also read most of the ones that I was really excited to read, and yeah, I'm just kind of struggling. So I thought I would do a little TBR prompt jar game, and I would pick 3 books to read to try and get a head start on June, so that yeah, hopefully I'm a little bit ahead of schedule. So I have had a look through the books on my shelf, and I think that all of the prompts that I've written out apply to at least one, hopefully more than one book, because I really don't want to get stuck with having to read one particular book because I've picked out a prompt. So I've written out 15 prompts, so I will take you through them, and then I will pick 3 and see if I can find books that match. The first prompt I have is character with the same name as someone I know. Now this is one that I have no idea if there is a book on my shelf that this applies to, but hopefully. It doesn't seem like it should be that difficult. Like, I have a lot of books that are written by British authors, so you would think that there might be some names, common names. The next one I have is rated over 4 stars in Goodreads. This would be a good one to get because if it's rated over 4 stars, hopefully you'll like it. The next one I have is person on the cover. I think there are quite a lot of books with people on the covers on my TBR, so that should hopefully be not too bad. The next one I have is not from Europe, so the author is not from Europe. There are some books that the authors are not from Europe, although most of them I'd say the authors are from Europe, so we'll see. Then I have blue on the cover. I think I have a couple of blue books, 3 or 4 maybe, so should be fine. Written before 1920. I do have some books that are written before 1920, though I would kind of hope I don't get this because I feel like they're all quite long. And the next one I have is gifted. I have a few books that I've got for birthdays or Christmases, so that could be a good option. Set in a hot country. Again, this is probably going to be similar to Not From Europe because, yeah, quite a lot of the books, the authors are not from Europe are also writing from hot countries, but yeah, we'll see. Translated fiction. I have loads of translated fiction, so this would be a nice easy one to get. Over 500 pages. As I say, most of the books are over 500 pages. However, I kind of hope I don't get this because I don't really want to read loads of long books. Written after 2000. Yeah, I have some more recent books. Yep. Red on the cover again. I see some red spines already, so fingers crossed. A prize winner. Some of these are like red on the sticky bits of post-its. I should have a few prize winning books under 300 pages, that would be a good one. But I don't have that many books under 300 pages. And the last one is new to me author. I'd say that probably about half the books are new to me authors. So I'm just going to pop these all in a little mug. I don't have a jar, but in a little mug. And yes, I'll be back to pick out a couple of prompts. Okay, so I've put all of the prompts in a little mug, so I'm going to pick the first one. So yeah, I'm going to pick 3 for this reading vlog, and I'm going to read 3 books. I like to DNF them, and I will see how I get on. Hopefully this will be a good way to kickstart the TBR reading for June. Okay, so first one, here we go. Okay, so what do I have? Not the best start. Written before 1920. So yeah, let me go and have a look at the options and I'll be back. So I've had a look through my shelves and I've picked out a couple of options, but I think I already know what I'm going to go with. So the first one is Wife and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. This is about 650 pages, and I tried to read this when I was on holiday one year and I was just not in the mood for it, and it kind of put me in a reading slump, and then since then I've never picked it up again. However, I have read North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell and I did enjoy it. This was first published in 1866, so definitely before 1920, but I don't think I'm going to pick this for my first one, just because I'm also worried that the over 500 page prompt is going to come up, so I don't want to have a 650 page book on my TBR. Likewise, I also have Romola by George Eliot. I read Middlemarch maybe 2 years ago by George Eliot and really enjoyed it. I really like this cover. And this one is set in Renaissance Florence, and I've heard it's kind of difficult to get into, and I'm a little bit concerned because I don't know the context really. Like, I read the introduction to this and it was explaining what was going on with historically in the book, which all seemed straightforward enough, but I'm just a bit worried about it. This one is, let me tell you how many pages, it's a big one as well. 580-ish pages, and it's got lots of notes at the back too. And this was first published in 1862, so definitely before 1920, but again, this one's big and I'm kind of stressed about it, so probably not going to read this one. And then the other one, which I think I have more books than this, by the way, that are before 1920, but these are just the ones that sprung to mind. The next one, which I think is the one I am going to pick, is The House of Ulloa by Emilia Pardo Bazan. This is short. This is about 250 pages, and it was written in 1886, so before 1920. It's translated fiction. It says it's one of the greatest 19th century Spanish novels. I did start this maybe last year and I read like 20 pages and I was like, I'm not in the mood for this. However, I'm in quite a good reading mood at the moment, so I'm hopeful that I'll be able to get through this one. It is nice and short. I think it's about a priest who is sent to a remote country estate, so I think it could be quite a good one. So I'm going to go for this as my first prompt. So on to my second prompt. So I'll get my little mug back. Okay, what do we have? Oh yes, under 300 pages, that is very good news. So I'm going to go and have a look and see. I've already picked one that's under 300 pages for my first prompt, so this is actually going much better than expected. However, the point of this video was to kind of try and get some of the bigger books off my TBR, but I'm not complaining. Let me go and have a look. So I've had a look and I've picked out 4 potential options. There's worryingly weren't actually that many other options, so I think I'm going to have to go with one of these 4. None of them I'm like super excited about, but they are all short at least. So the first one is Mao 2 by, it's very shiny, by Dostoevsky. I picked this up in a charity shop last year and then I just like never wanted to pick it up, which is a bit like, this is about, oh dear, this is about some sort of poet hostage release in Beirut, bomb makers and gunmen. This one is 241 pages, so under 300. Then I have The Double by Saramago. I also picked this up, I think maybe at the same time I picked up Mautu last year in a charity shop. I don't know why I got this. I have wanted to read Jose Saramago for a while. I know like he won the Nobel Prize for Literature. I've heard lots of really good things about his book Blindness. I've not heard anything about this book. It says on the front, philosophy and thriller rolled into one. I have seen the film of this, I think. I think Richard Ayoade made a film of this maybe like 15 years ago, and that didn't make me hugely want to read the book, I'm not gonna lie, so I don't really know why I got this one. However, it is 292 pages, so that's an option. I then have Solar Bones by Mike McCormack, which I've had on my TBR for like almost 4 years. I want to say I got this in 2020, and this book is quite famous because it's written all in the one sentence, I think. I could be wrong, but I think it's like one sentence, but looking at it there are breaks in like the text, so it's not like it's I don't know, it's not like it's like one whole entire sentence. It's about I think it's about someone that's died or is dying. It's like reflecting on their life. It's Irish. I don't particularly want to read this one, but I did hold on to it after doing my clear out, and I've had it for 4 years, so obviously like part of me wants to read it. And then the last one is a book that I bought in hardback, of all things, last year or the year before. That's the Book of Mother. This was longlisted for the Booker International Prize. I paid quite a lot of money for this book. It was quite expensive. I think I bought it like full price hardback, and that was because when it had just been longlisted I was like, oh, that book sounds amazing, I really want to read it. So it's a French book. I ordered it, and then people were not giving it such great reviews. I remember Jen Campbell read it and didn't particularly like it, and then it didn't get shortlisted, and I started to read it and I read like 10 pages and I was like, I'm not loving this. So then I put it down, but it just seems such a shame, and it's a very pretty book to throw out such like a nice hardback, especially when it's so short. It's like maybe even under 200 pages, 210 pages or something. So I need to at least give this another go, but not just now, I don't think. So I think I'm actually going to go with Solar Bones, because as I say, this one's been on my TBR for the longest. There's obviously a reason why I kept it, so I'm going to give it a go because I have like no idea really what this is about. So this is the one that I think could surprise me the most, so I'm going to go with that. Okay, last prompt, and I'm a little bit anxious because my under 300 pages one has already been picked, so right, let's go. Oh my god. Over 500 pages. Amazing. Right, I have so many options for this, so let me go and have a look. At least I already have 2 short books, so over 500 pages is not the worst at this point. It's kind of what I need to do. Okay, so option 1, The Karamazov Brothers by Dostoevsky. This is very long. 900 and, oh my god, 960-ish pages, and that's without notes, so that's very long. I really want to get to this one, but I just don't think I can deal with 980 pages at this point. I'm not gonna lie, it's too much for me. It's gonna break me, so I don't think I'm gonna go for this one. Similarly, this one, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, I got like 1,000 pages. I think it would be a faster read than the Karamazov Brothers because it's like sort of fantasy, but also I don't read really any fantasy, which makes me a bit worried for this. And I've tried to start it a couple of times and I've only got like 10 pages through and then put it down. Obviously you need to give a book more of a chance than that, but I'm just like, yeah. So I'm not sure about that one either. I'm gonna go with Independent People by Halldor, Laxness. This is 544 pages, and this is about an Icelandic sheep farmer, maybe, and about his life, sort of. I don't really know what it's about, I'm not gonna lie. I bought this book in a charity shop maybe a couple of years ago. I really want to read this. I have tried, not to lie, a lot of these books that are left now, I have read like 10 pages of and put down, but I need to commit to it. I'm going to give this a go. It's like 550 pages, so that doesn't seem too terrible. it's not like 1,000 pages, so I'm going to go for this one. So my books for this video are going to be Solar Bones by Mike McCormack, The House of Ulloa by Emilia, Pardo, Bazan, Emilia, sorry, and Independent People by Halldor, Laxness. So I'm not sure how long this is going to take me. I'm also not sure how I'm going to tackle it. I might just do one book at a time, or I might try and read a couple of books at once, but I will keep you posted. Good morning, so I thought I would come on and update you on what I've been reading. So I started reading The House of Ulloa by Emilia, Pardo, Bazan, and I'm about 70 pages into this, so about a quarter of the way through it, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I wasn't sure what I would make of this. I had sort of heard mixed reviews, but so far I'm really enjoying the writing style. It's very descriptive. It's sort of set in this big manor house, and there are scenes of like parties, descriptions of the grounds of the house that that are really beautiful, considering it's translated as well. I was a little bit concerned to start with because there's like a historical note at the start of the book that was talking about things that were going on with the monarchy in Spain in like 1860. I was like, oh dear, I hope this isn't confusing. But so far, like, it doesn't seem particularly necessary to know that. So obviously, if I get to the point where I'm not really understanding what's going on, I can always go back and look at the historical note and see if I can make sense of it. This author seems to have led an interesting life as well. There's sort of I read the introduction, which I don't normally do for classic books, but it's only a couple of pages long, and it gave no spoilers actually to the book, so that's good. It seems like she was a countess and she had got divorced, and she sort of lived a bit of like a bohemian type lifestyle, which is I guess quite interesting, especially in Spain at that time. Everyone would have been really religious. Divorce was definitely frowned upon. So yeah, I think this is going to be good. Some of the writing is really beautiful, and I'm enjoying it so far. So I think this is going to be quite a quick read. I need to go to work now, so I will continue with it this evening. It is quite a horrible day today. It is very rainy. So yeah, I might go for a walk at lunchtime. So if I will catch up with you when I've done some more reading. So it's a couple of days later. It's now Saturday, and the last time I updated you was Thursday. So I've done some more reading, and I have now finished The House of Ulloa. So I will let you know my thoughts. I really like this. I don't know why, but I just wasn't sure that I was going to before I picked it up. The writing in this is so beautiful. The descriptions are amazing, and I think that for me that's what really stuck out. Like, I like the story of this. It's sort of, I guess it's sort of gothic, but I wouldn't say that that's the main, it's got like a gothic atmosphere, but in terms of the actual storyline I wouldn't say it's particularly gothic. So yeah, as I said, it's about a priest who arrives at this country house, and it's sort of about corruption, I guess, in the countryside. The fact that when he arrives there, the master seems to have an illegitimate child with a maid that works in the house, and her dad is the, like, what's the word? I guess he's like the foreman that works out in the fields, and he seems to be in charge of collecting money from all of the other members of the community, and it seems like really he's the one in power, not the head of the house. So it's sort of about that. There's some political background stuff, but nothing too complicated. There's then a female character that comes into it, and it's sort of about her relationship with the priest. And I really liked this. I think that each chapter as like a scene was really like evocative. There were loads of scenes that I just thought were great. Like, if you've read The Door by Magda Jabot, and enjoyed the writing style. I think you would enjoy this because there are some scenes in this where that just like really stick in your mind. Like I remember from reading The Door that there's a scene where there's like a dog that there's this like banquet laid out and the dog comes in and eats it all, and it was such like a scene that's really stuck in my mind. And I feel like this was the same. There were loads of chapters in this where there were scenes that I was like, wow, that's like, yeah, that's really going to stay in my mind, more so than the storyline. Like I wasn't that fussed really about the plot, but I'm okay with that. And then at the back of this there was like a 15-page, it's called Notes Towards an Autobiography, and it's sort of the writer's explaining how she became a writer and her influences and stuff like that. And that was amazing. Like I would read a whole memoir of her life. It seems like she led a really interesting life, but she also was like a huge figure in the Spanish literary community. She sort of talks about French naturalism and about Émile Zola and Victor Hugo and being really inspired by them. And then people had accused her of sort of stealing their style, but she's saying that Spanish naturalism is a different thing. I mean, I don't know much about that subject matter, but the way that she wrote it, again, it was really beautiful. I've actually tabbed a couple of bits where there were quotes that I really liked, so I'll read you just like a little paragraph that sort of shows what the writing style is like. So it said, they're at some sort of banquet type thing. Had a master of the Flemish skill been present, one of those painters who poured the poetry of art over the prose of domestic life, with what pleasure he would have observed the spectacle of the big kitchen, the beautiful liveliness of the log fire, caressing the pan's bright belly, the housekeeper's plump arms, indistinguishable from the round blood-red piece of meat she was preparing for the oven, the pink cheeks of the wenches who were busy frolicking with the idiot like nymphs with a helpless satyr, throwing handfuls of rice and peppers down the inside of his shirt. It goes on and on, but like it's just really beautiful descriptive language, I thought. So yeah, I would really recommend this one. It was a really nice surprise, so I enjoyed that. I am going to start Solar Bones by Mike McCormack next. So as I say, it's Saturday. It's also bank holiday weekend. So I don't normally get bank holidays, but I decided to just take it as a holiday because my boyfriend does. So it always seems a bit of a shame if he's off and I'm not. So yeah, we've got a 3-day weekend. The weather was meant to be nice today. It's sort of clouded over now, but I went for a run this morning and it was really beautiful. A big dog did jump on me though, and I had like big paw prints all over me. I did take a couple of wee videos. It was a really beautiful morning. Our plan for today is we're going to go to Balmoral Castle, which is about an hour and a half drive maybe, but there's a cafe that we went to a couple of years ago that's on the way, that was so nice, and it's like won loads of architecture awards and stuff in Scotland, so I'm going to go back there on the way, and yeah, I expect to get some more reading done and I will update you shortly. So it's the next day and I'm back to do a small update. So yeah, as you probably saw yesterday, I had a really nice day. We went to Balmoral Castle. I was like a little bit underwhelmed by it just because it's so expensive to get into, because it's the one that the royal family does live in part of the year. I want to say summer, maybe August, because it's only open from April to July to visit, so it's a really short window. Anyway, yeah, we went there. It was like £17.50 each to get in, and that was just to the gardens, which I thought seemed quite expensive. And they were like, it was nice, but there wasn't loads to see. It's quite a big estate, but a lot of it wasn't open to the public. There was also a strange watercolour exhibition of the king's paintings, which were questionable. Anyway, it was still a really nice day out. We went to a nice cafe, and then when we got home last night it was really sunny, so I just sat out in the garden, read my book, had a beer. It's very pleasant. So yeah, I've made quite good progress actually on Solar Bones. I am now 165 pages in, so I only have 100 pages left to go. And I'm really enjoying this one as well actually. This has been a success so far. So when I first started it, I was really not sure, because I'll read you the first few lines. The bell as, hearing the bell as, hearing the bell as standing here, the bell being heard standing here, hearing it ring out through the grey light of this morning, noon or night. I was like, oh dear, is this going to be how it continues? But it really doesn't. It like gets into quite a steady flow of things. So this is definitely a stream of consciousness. It says on the back that it's set during 1 hour, a single hour of his life, which, yeah, it's a sort of, he's in the kitchen in his house and he's reflecting back on memories, and I guess it's quite, it seems like one memory is flowing into another quite seamlessly. It's very easy to follow, like at no point are you confused about what's going on. He's sort of talking about his childhood and where he lives. He's from county, well, I'm not sure, but somewhere in the Republic of Ireland. He's an engineer, talking about his work, his view on things as an engineer, and then talking, sorry, I'm just distracted, there's a strange bird in the garden, and then talking about his marriage, about his kids. So this is like a white 50-year-old man's perspective. I feel like I've read a lot of that, I've seen a lot of that, so from that respect there's nothing new. Like there are bits where he talks about his, like him cheating on his wife when she's pregnant, and it's just like, oh, he's almost like semi trying to defend it. So that bit I really don't like, but there are some like really profound moments in this that I was really surprised about. So like very near the start, he starts talking about his father as a farmer, and what he would do is he would like take all of his machinery apart with a spanner and put it all back together. And he thought that because he wanted to understand how things worked, and he only trusted things if he knew how they worked, how they were taken apart and how they were put together. But for our narrator, he says that as an engineer, or he obviously wasn't an engineer when he was a child seeing this, but when he saw his father do this, it made him question the whole universe, because it was like a spanner could undo something as big and powerful as a tractor, so could it undo the whole universe? And I thought that was like really profound. And yeah, it really goes into like politics, but not like in a very natural seeming way. I'm really enjoying a lot of his musings. I'm not enjoying some of the bits about him and his relationship with his wife and his kids. Like again, it's not that he's a bad person, like obviously apart from the cheating on his wife thing, but like it's nothing that I've not read before. Like if you've read Saturday by Ian McEwan, or basically any of Ian McEwan's books, I'd say that this is like a similar sort of like narrator. Like this does quite remind me of Saturday, but in other points it sort of reminds me of a book like Ducks Newburyport, which I really loved, which was again sort of musings that all roll in together, they all blend in together to make something bigger. So yeah, I'm enjoying it quite a lot. I've got like 100 pages left. I don't see my opinions changing too much. Like from the start of the book to now, I'd say that my enjoyment has stayed the same-ish. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Today's Sunday and it's quite a gloomy day out, so I think we might just go and grab some breakfast somewhere and then come back, and I'll probably do a bit more reading this afternoon. I've got some housework to do, and then my boyfriend's parents are coming over for dinner tonight because it's his birthday next week. So that's the plan for the day, and I'll keep you posted once. I imagine I'll finish this today or maybe tomorrow morning, so I'll keep you posted. So it's now the next day. We had a really nice day yesterday. The weather was pretty horrible, but we went to this RSPB location close to us where they have like an osprey nest. They have webcams on it, and you can go, and they have binoculars and stuff, and you can have a look. So we went to have a look at them, which was really cool. One had caught a big fish, and there had been quite a lot of osprey drama. There had been the female osprey had mated with this male, and she had all these eggs, and then a bigger, stronger male came in and killed all of the eggs and chased her mate away. But she's now, apparently ospreys are loyal to their nest and not to their mate, so she's now like with this new stronger male. So it's all a bit of a shame for the other osprey. He's tried to come back and reclaim the nest, but yeah, he's not strong enough. So it was really interesting to see them. And then we went for a walk in the forest where they have these crossbills, I didn't know what a crossbill was until we moved up here like a year ago, because they basically live in pine forest. I can put a picture up. They're like little mini parrots almost, and they live in pine forests, and they have quite a distinctive call. But I never managed to see one, and I saw one yesterday, but my boyfriend didn't manage to see it, even though the second I saw it, I gave him the binoculars and I was like, it's there, but he was looking in the wrong tree. So yeah, that was quite funny. And then we went for dinner with his parents. But I made the mistake. I'm like slightly, well, I thought I was intolerant to shellfish, but I actually think I might be slightly allergic. I think it's more than an intolerance, because we went for dinner and I ordered like, it was like salmon with potatoes, and it said potatoes with spinach and crab through it, and I was like, oh, crab will be fine, it's like not going to be much. And I couldn't even taste the crab, like it must be a tiny amount, but I felt really terrible last night when I got home. Like I had such a sore stomach, I thought I was going to be sick. I woke up this morning and like I drove to dinner, so I didn't have anything to drink, and I felt like hungover. I just felt so terrible. So I'm feeling a bit better now, but yes, I think that's a lesson learned, that I now cannot eat any sort of shellfish. So never mind. It's not really a sort of thing I eat that often, so it's not going to hugely impact my life. But yeah, okay, so quick reading update then. I finished Solar Bones by Mike McCormack, and yeah, I think in my last update I said I would be surprised if my feelings really changed towards this book. I stand by that, but the last maybe 15 pages, it went in a direction that I thought it might go in, but I didn't really want it to go in, because it seemed unnecessary plot wise. I don't really want to say any more than that because it'll give it away, but if you've read this book, you'll know what I mean. I actually think that I knew that this was what happened, but I thought that, like, before I started reading the book, I thought that that was what this book was about. But then when I started reading it and that didn't seem to be the case, I was like, oh, I must have just imagined that. And then when I got to the end, I was like, wait a second. So I feel like whoever's review I watched of this must have spoiled it, but like made it sound as if that was the point of the book. If that makes sense. It obviously doesn't if you've not read the book, but yeah, if I said any more than that, I would really give it away. So I thought that was like a little bit unnecessary, but because it was only the last 10-15 pages, it didn't really bother me. The writing continued to be really beautiful. I really liked a lot of his musings. But overall, I just feel like this is not a new perspective. I think it's a very unique style. It actually won the Goldsmiths Prize, which is a prize for, I think, innovative fiction, and like the form is very innovative. I read this so quickly, like it just flowed like thoughts. It was like one thought to the next, and most of them I did find really interesting. But yeah, just like it doesn't feel like a new character, if that makes sense. Like I feel like I come away from it and I'm like, okay, so he had a wife and kids and he was an engineer, but like I couldn't tell you really more than that about him as a person. So I am not sure how like fully fleshed out the character was, if that makes sense. And then I have read 50 pages of Independent People by Halldor Laxness. In fact, I read 60 pages. I started this morning, and I'm kind of unsure so far. So this book is about a sheep farmer who has managed to buy his own farm in the sort of like wilderness of Iceland. I feel like most of rural Iceland is like complete wilderness or like isolation. So he bought this farm, and it's in this area where there's lots of like folk tales about this woman that had murdered all of these people, and that her spirit roams the area. So it's meant to be haunted, which I think is why he's been able to afford to buy this farm, because no one else wants it. And he gets married and he brings his wife back there, and she's like pretty freaked out by it. She like is custom to give a stone to the like cairn where this witch is meant to be buried, and she wants to do that, and he's having none of it. He's like, it's superstition, this is nonsense, blah blah blah. That's really as far as I've got. They've just like started their married life together. The wedding scene between them was a bit odd. I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this writing style, because there were quite a lot of characters that were talking a lot about farming stuff, and none of them were really introduced. I think maybe if I had read the Icelandic sagas, I would get more out of this, because I think it's meant to be written in sort of like a saga style. But I've not read that, so I don't have that context. There's a quote like 20 pages in, which I think sums up what the book is going to be about. So it says, he's talking about his farm that he's bought. Size isn't everything by any means, he said aloud. Take my word for it, freedom is of more account than the height of a roof beam. I ought to know. Mine cost me 18 years' slavery. The man who lives on his own land is an independent man. He is his own master. If I can keep my sheep alive through the winter and can pay what has been stipulated from year to year, then I pay what has been stipulated, and I have kept my sheep alive. No, it is freedom that we are all after. He who pays his way is a king. He who keeps his sheep alive through the winter lives in a palace. I think that's going to be the main theme of this book. I think it's all about, suggesting the title, Independent People. He wants his independence. He wants to be self-sufficient, self-reliant. His wife doesn't seem to want that. The way that he speaks to his wife is really abhorrent. Like some of the things he says, like I know this was written in the 50s, I think, and is maybe meant to be set before then. It doesn't really say when it's meant to be set. But yeah, there's a bit, he's talking about basically as soon as they get married and they go back to his farm, he accuses her of having slept with other people and not being a virgin. He says, "You're all modest enough and shy enough on your wedding day, but for all your blushes, no one knows where you may have bedded. You pass on to us men the lifeless corpse of love when the vultures have picked the eyes out of it." I was like, that's really horrible. And yeah, he seems to be very abusive to his wife so far. So I'm interested to see how this goes because, from what I gather, he's not really meant to be an abhorrent character. He is sort of the protagonist. So yeah, I'm going to see how this goes. I think I'm going to try and read it a bit more slowly. I'm going to read, say, 50 pages a day, so that I don't burn out with it. But I'm intrigued because on the back it says it's got a huge cast of amazing characters, but there are no amazing characters so far. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a good go. I'm going to try and read at least 150 pages before I decide if this book is for me or not. But yeah, I'm unsure so far, so I'll check in once I've read more. Good morning. Okay, so it's a few days later, and the last time I spoke to you, I said that I was going to read at least 150 pages before I decided about Independent People. Yeah, so I gave up at 130 pages, so I still think that that's a pretty good job. If it wasn't such a long book, 130 pages is, perfectly reasonable for DNFing a book, but because it's 550 pages, I only got less than a quarter of the way through. But this book just isn't for me, or at least it isn't for me right now. I just wasn't enjoying really anything about it. I didn't like the main character, Bjartur. As I said the last time, the way he speaks about women is really horrible. He's just a very unpleasant person, but the sense I get is that he's maybe not meant to be such an unpleasant person. There's no critique of him particularly of what I've read so far, which, if he had been an unpleasant person and it was very clear that he was meant to be unpleasant, then I would think, okay, well, maybe he's going to improve as the book goes on. But since there's no real critique of him, I'm like, maybe the author doesn't think that he's not a nice character. But yeah, I will give a little spoiler here, so if you want to read this book, then I'll put a timestamp that you can skip to. But basically, 120 pages in, his wife died. She dies in childbirth, and he goes off to go and find this sheep. And she says, "Oh, but don't leave me here, I'm pregnant, blah blah blah." And he's like, "No, you'll be fine, you'll be fine." And he comes back and she's dead. But the way it's written is just very cold. You don't get any of his feelings towards it. He doesn't really seem to have many feelings. And then he goes to someone's house to tell them that she's died, but he just starts talking about sheep, and I was just like, fair enough that he's trying to hide what's happened so that he can get them in private and then tell them, but there's no there was no writing to show that he was maybe trying to suppress his feelings or whatever. So it's just not for me. The fact that that is a huge event and it was sort of glossed over, and it seems like the book's just going to continue from there. I just don't think that this book is for me. The writing style was very cold. There was a lot of descriptions of actions. So he goes to try and catch this sheep, and there's 20 pages of him trying to catch a sheep and then jumping on the back of a deer and the deer dragging him across a river. And it was just very descriptions of the actions, which I don't really enjoy. I didn't really care about his life. I just think that this was going to put me in a reading slump if I continued to read it, because I was waking up in the morning thinking, oh god, I don't want to go and read that book. So that's just a bad sign. So I'm just going to put this down. So it's now Thursday, so my this weekend is my boyfriend's birthday, so we're going to go camping. I've got another couple of activities planned, so take you along for that. So it's now Sunday night and I've had a really nice weekend. It was my boyfriend's birthday, so we went camping, his sister came up and we did some horse riding, which was really good fun. It was like a very basic beginner's pony ride. We're literally like walking around a field, but the weather was so nice for both the pony riding and our camping, so it was amazing. And then today we went on a steam train and we had an afternoon tea, so it's been really nice. I've not done much reading, however, when I last spoke to you I said that I had DNF'd Independent People by Halldor Laxness, and that's still very much the case. Like over the weekend I've not once thought, oh maybe I should pick that book back up, so it's definitely gone for now. I think I might just donate it to a charity shop, and if in the future I feel like reading it I can pick it up, but yeah, for the moment it's just such a big book and I just wasn't enjoying it. And yeah, as I say, I'd only made it like 20% of the way through. The writing style just wasn't for me in this one, but if you have read it and really enjoyed it and you think that I should stick with it, that it changes halfway through, please let me know, because this is like a classic that, you know, is on all of those best books to read lists. So like I would like to be able to finish it, but I just don't want to waste like a week of my life reading a book that I really don't enjoy. So that's that one. And the two more successful reads of the video were The House of Ulloa by Emilia, Pardo, Bazan and Solar Bones by McCormack. I can't actually decide which one of these I preferred. They're both such different books and I really enjoyed both of them for sort of different reasons. I just thought the atmosphere and the writing in this one was amazing, and yeah, her autobiographical section at the end was just made me want to read like everything she's ever written. I think she has written some other novels, but whether they've been translated into English I'm not sure, so I need to find out about that, but she's definitely an author like I would 100% read more from. And Solar Bones, it was so immersive. I read it so quickly. I was just really sucked into it, and the only thing that I didn't like so much about it was one, sort of the end part, but also just the fact that I didn't feel like I was getting a new perspective. But that's not really the book's fault. That's just, personally, I've read other books that are from a similar character's point of view, but I definitely would consider picking up other books that this author has written. I would just need to check the blurb and make sure it sounds like something that I'm going to enjoy, that's maybe a little bit different, and then yeah, I really liked his writing style. So it's been a success. That's 3 books out of the 5 books for the month of June ticked off my TBR, and it's only the 2nd of June. And over the weekend I have been reading Revolutionary Road by Richard Yates, which is another book on my TBR, and I've only got about 50 pages left. I'm not going to share my thoughts about it in this video because I feel like it's long enough, but yeah, so I've basically almost read 4 books, so that's amazing. I'm doing so well. I just need to keep the momentum going. If you'd like to see another video like this in the future, I may well do one, because I think I'm going to get to a point later on in the year where I'm going to need a bit of a push to pick up some of the books left in my physical TBR. So yeah, please follow along if you would like to see more.